Good evening and welcome to Mile High Potcast. As always, we're your hosts tonight. We'll be telling you tales of drugs, pop culture, and using the word fuck a lot. Now remember, marijuana can be dangerous. Don't hurt yourself or your loved ones. But subscribe.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to actually what is the second episode of the Mile High Podcast. Don't look around. You're like, where is that first episode? Well, that first episode, like many episodes of Doctor Who, has got lost in the ether because, quite honestly, we got super high and erased it. So the only people who were able to hear it were my co-host Dave and Chris, who is normally with us. He won't be with us this week. He for the next couple weeks, he is on assignment outside of the country right now. We have Nancy Wilson with us instead of Chris. Hi, Nancy. Welcome to the Mile High Podcast.
Hello.
Hello. All right. So we're going to kind of do what we did last time. You didn't hear it, so it doesn't matter. It'll all sound new to you. So welcome to the second episode of the Mile High Podcast. My name is James Thomas, and with me are two of my oldest friends, my co-host David Hawkins,
Hello.
and probably, hey Dave, and Nancy Wilson, who is a very dear friend of mine as well. You may be wondering why we call this a podcast versus a podcast, and for that, I am going to pass it over to Dave. Mr. Hawkins?
All right, so it's unfortunate that we lost that first one because it was really fucking hilarious, and it's exactly what we're trying to do. It is a, Mile High Podcast is a lighthearted, episodic podcast centered around two themes: high-quality marijuana and pop culture conversation. This idea was derived from when I was growing up and smoking ditch weed with my friends. We would sit in a circle and just shoot the shit about everything from like movies, comics, music, science, politics, and like the more high we got, the more fucked up our conversations went. And they were hilarious, and it has stayed with me for my entire life. So the Mile High Podcast is basically a high-tech version of the weed circle from when I was growing up.
It's basically just an excuse to smoke weed. Yeah, so each themed episode will start off with us describing the weed that we're smoking, who we're getting it from. Basically all it is right now, we've already started smoking. We're smoking out of a pipe. And this one in particular is West Coast Sour Diesel. And I bought it at Reefer Madness, which those of you with an astute ear will recognize the theme song from the beginning of our intro. So that's what we're starting with. Dave, what'd you bring with us today?
Today we are smoking Eagle Scout. It's a hybrid indica and sativa from Rocky Road in Aurora, Colorado.
I've been to Rocky Road a few times. It's all right.
That's a ringing endorsement. We're trying to sell advertising here.
Not to Rocky Road, we're not.
All right, Mr. Rocky
they're
Road.
in Chambers of Mexico, right?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, no.
Okay, so we just won't play episode 2 for the guy who owns Rocky Road in case we're trying to get advertising.
We'll just skip past this part. He doesn't need to hear. That can be edited out in post.
Yeah, we can edit out.
James doesn't live in Aurora anyways.
No, I'm not an Aurora guy. My weed comes strictly from Denver or the Thornton area.
Is Thornton weed better than Aurora weed?
No, quite frankly, if I'm being honest, if I'm in Aurora and I'm buying weed, I'm buying it from Lightshade at I Live in Buckley. Big fan of Lightshade. I Live in Buckley. They have a
But
great.
that's because you know the bud tender.
I do know all the bud tenders there.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that. But yeah, they do good joints. I gotta be honest. I find Rocky Road's prices a little weird sometimes. They don't do a lot of discounts.
But their joints do not get sticky at the end.
Right. They don't have that burn. So, Rocky Road, if you do end up listening to this, do discounts. Even if we don't think that you're getting discounts.
Or just give us discounts.
Just give us a discount.
Right,
Advertise with us and sponsor our show, and then we will love you forever.
Speaking of that, like I said before, Chris, who is normally our third co-host, is out of the country on assignment. He should have some things to talk about when he gets back. So it's going to be about 4 weeks till we hear from Chris. Nancy was nice enough to sit in with us tonight. But if you're listening and you're in the Denver area and you are trying to promote something or you just like smoking weed, email us and we will see if we can get you on the show with us and maybe as our third guest. Dave has the emails memorized. I have no idea where they are. So Dave, what are our emails?
So the emails are redbeard@milehighpodcast.net, james@milehighpodcast.net, chris@milehighpodcast.net, and our overall email is stuffwemessedup at milehighpodcast.net. So, if you want to tell us that we fucked up a lot, if you want to tell us how stupid we are, how hilarious we are, stuff we messed up, or just directed to James himself.
Yes. I love nasty emails. It's as good as actual comments.
If you send in good ones, you could do a whole segment of reading them.
Right. Of good ones, probably not, but I bet I could do a whole segment of nasty
good,
emails.
Bad ones.
Oh, yeah. So if you want to...
Get creative, people.
Right.
Yeah.
If you have something you need to say, if you want to sell your... if you're in a band and you want to sell your band, if you, make things, your Etsy shop, who the hell knows? If you're a realtor who really wants to sell to stoners, we're the show that you want to be on.
And if we like your shit, we'll invite you to be a co-host because, it's more fun. The more the merrier here.
Right. So, don't mind the coughing. I know coughing is such a no-no when you're doing actual podcasts, but... This one should have coughing. If you're
it's
not
theater of the mind.
Right, exactly. It frees it. And the reminder of these emails, because we say this a lot, and so the email is POTCAST.
POTCAST, and please, no dick pics.
No dick pics. I mean, unless it's extremely impressive, and then we absolutely want to see it.
You can't, steal it off the internet,
Right.
Google dick pics or something. It has to be your own.
Right,
it has
we
to be
know
worthwhile.
internet dicks. We'll see it, and we'll be like, no, that's just...
All
They'll
dick pics will be put on the Facebook page, just so you know.
Right, exactly. So the time frame that we're doing it in right now just happens to be during D23, which those of you who did not hear the last show or the test show Dave and I did have no idea, but Disney is one of my go-tos, one of my expertises, let's say. So D23, for those of you who don't know, it is the Disney fandom. Basically what they do is every 2 years they have a convention, much like Comic-Con and everything, where they release their newest information. We will be discussing some of the things that got established at D23, but before we go there, we're going to start off completely away from Disney, believe it or not, because so much of it I think is going to be covered in Disney. We're going to go to Netflix, and this is something that David brought to my attention earlier in the week, and I know that he is a huge fan of the man who's taking over this show. Kevin Smith will be making all new He-Man for Netflix, right?
That's correct. He's going to be the executive producer. He's already hired a team of writers. He's pulled some from that are doing DC Universe stuff, some that are doing Carnival Row and Castle Rock with Stephen King. One of his co-writers is a dude that he does a podcast called Fat Man Beyond with. And yeah, I think I'm excited. I used to watch He-Man. I played more with the toys than I watched the shows, but I watched the fucking awful Dolph Lundgren movie. I played with all the toys. I had fucking Castle Grayskull.
I also had Castle Grayskull. That's the one that you wanted, is Castle Grayskull, because it was one of the coolest toys. I truly did play with the toys more than I watched the show, but He-Man is pretty set up. What about you, Nancy? Were you a He-Man girl?
Oh, no, I was not. I was a pretty girly girl. I joined the pop culture revolution much later in life. But I have to ask, is this live action or animated?
It's animated, and it's actually going to follow the original series, so it's going to be a direct continuation instead of just an all-new series. Kind of like the She-Ra, where I never watched She-Ra, so I can't really tell you if it's a continuation, but She-Ra's a completely different style. It has different music, and I think it kind of separates itself from the original material, whereas this He-Man is a direct.
I watched a little bit of She-Ra. I watched Gem. That was my pop culture from back then. Huh.
Gem is definitely pop culture. Here's the thing about...
Is there a Gem movie? Was
Yeah,
that the
I heard
Britney
it
Spears
bombed.
movie?
I didn't even watch it.
No.
It bombed really bad.
Yeah, it did bomb really bad. Although...
I can't imagine why.
Well, here's the strange cutaway from that, though. Josie and the Pussycats is an amazingly wonderful movie.
Movies where girls are dressed in miniskirts and tank tops.
I do like girls in miniskirts and tank tops, but this is a really clever movie. It's really worth your time. It's as far as comic movies go, at the time that it was brought out, which I want to say 2007. I have access to the internet, but I'm not going to look it up. But I'm going to say 2007. I'm comfortable. 2005, 2007. Really, really smart, really clever, good use of comic book movie.
One of my favorite comic book movies that's not in Marvel MCU, because they blow me out of the water. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie, but I was just watching it. It's my son's favorite movie, and it's made by Edgar Wright, so the same dude that does like Shaun of the Dead, did Baby Driver. Really creative fucking movie. Follows the material, which is super inventive in the first place. It's so much fun to watch. Like, that's one of those movies that I can turn on at any time and I'm fucking couch locked for the rest of the day.
I'm definitely a fan of that movie. It didn't necessarily catch me the first viewing. I mean, it caught me as far as like, oh, that was a neat movie, but I didn't appreciate it the first time I viewed it. But it has some things in it that I really like, including Brandon Roth, who those of you who follow super or comic book movies knows played Superman.
Also has Brie Larson, who is now Captain Marvel.
Ooh, it also
She plays the singer that broke little Scott's heart.
Yes. So that's right. We have Brie Larson and we have Brandon Roth. Brandon Roth also plays the Atom on Marvel's, or not Marvel's, DC's Legends of Tomorrow and Arrow. In the Arrowverse. Yeah.
And he's reprising his role as Superman for the Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Which is going to be super cool. Here's the thing about that. There's a couple other people that you can bring in here. I would love to see Dean Cain come back and play Dean Cain and Terry Hatcher, Lois and Clark. Think, what a brilliant thing they could do. Smallville, Tom Wellington was a really good Superman. He did Crisis on Infinite Earth would be perfect with him. They also had an actor, and all this stuff is done from memory, so I don't know the guy who played Green Arrow on the Smallville show, but Smallville itself had a Green Arrow.
I was going to yell Steamer now.
You would have been right for the other show.
For the other show. But you just say Green Arrow, that's all I think of.
Right, but there's a guy on Smallville who established it for like 3 seasons. Now, they may not show any more Smallville because Chloe, whatever her last name is.
Oh, yeah, her whole...
Oh, Allison Mack. I'm thinking of a different person. Yeah, Allison Mack does the...
Yeah, she
was from Smallville, right? She was the one that just got convicted of sex trafficking or something like that.
Yeah,
sex cult.
It's like a weird sex cult where she would like lure in these girls and they'd tell the girls things like, you're going to get this tattoo to prove that you're devoted to this group, not to this dude necessarily. And then like they would torture these women together. It was weird.
Yeah.
But sex cult, awesome name for a band. So
it would be a very good name for a band.
Unless you're Allison Mack.
Yes. That'd be too much on the nose. Okay, so, yeah, here's the thing. I will give Kevin Smith this. I think he has proven repeatedly to be a very, very smart director. Although his original Superman story, if you ever hear it,
Oh, the movie?
The movie.
Yeah.
The movie that did not get made with Nicolas Cage.
There's a fucking great documentary. I think it's just like, the death of Superman or something like that. And it's all about the Superman that died. And fucking like Tim Burton was going to direct it. Nicolas Cage was going to be Superman.
And this was a Kevin Smith
project? Well, they hired Kevin.
They
hired Kevin Smith to write the script, and he did. And he quit because the main producer wanted him to put a giant fucking spider into the script that had never existed. He's like, I'm not going to write a big fucking spider like Kevin Smith is a huge... Because the dude wants a big fucking spider in his movie.
And he's producing it.
And he's producing it, yeah. So Kevin Smith bows out, somebody else writes it, but then it fucking dies. And then that dude who's the producer ends up producing Wild Wild West and he's used a big fucking spider in it.
He just got coked out one night and was like, I'm going to put a big spider in a movie.
It's going to be great.
And it's going to be amazing. Spider. I know how I'm going to build a spider.
Fuck it, I'm making a robot spider.
Right.
Who needs fucking...
He lived his dream. Good for him.
He's
living his best life. Making spiders.
Well, and it was weird because I think, if I remember the story right, he bought the rights to Superman, like, out of the blue. Like, it was one of those things that, pre-internet days where, like, if you just knew information, it was much more convenient for you because you're not going to get an email. So, Superman's rights had came up. The rights to the film version of Superman had came up, and I want to say... Warner Brothers, maybe, I don't know who has the Paramount. Somebody has the right to the original Superman movie. Sony, I don't know.
I don't know. We'll just keep naming ones eventually. Right.
A movie studio. So, but they lost the rights to the movie, and this producer just bought it. So they kind of were bound by what he wanted to do in these Superman series, and so they just never got made. But he caught it in like a really small window, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So.
And Tim Burton said that Nicolas Cage was amazing. Like
Nicolas Cage was going to be Spider-Man?
No, Superman.
Sorry, you said spider earlier.
Did I?
No, because the guy was bringing in a spider.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they did like a bunch of test scenes and shit, and with the suit and everything, and he said that he was amazing. He's like this long fucking hair. Have you ever seen Con Air? Where he's that dude with the long hair, and he kept that same fucking long hair for Superman.
I find nothing amazing about Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
Which is weird. There's some Nicolas Cage movies that I absolutely adore. I think Face Off is a great movie. Every Nicolas Cage movie that I think is great, I will end with in spite of Nicolas Cage. The Rock is a great movie in spite of Nicolas Cage.
You know my favorite Nicolas Cage movie?
National Treasure.
No, it's Raising Arizona.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, probably that one because of Nicolas Cage. There's one great movie that's absolutely really good because of Nicolas Cage.
On your head.
No, there's he put out a horror movie. I think it was either last year or the year before. It's called Mandy. It's just like this weird fucking movie where his girlfriend, love of his life, gets killed by these guys with a chainsaw, and then he just like fucking loses his mind and goes on this crazy revenge spree. And he is unbelievable in that fucking movie. That movie is one of my favorite horror movies now, and I watch horror movies all the time. And one of my favorite horror movies, because Nicolas Cage is so fucking good, is this dude going out for bloody revenge, and it's such a fucked up movie.
Interesting.
That's
So if you guys watch scary movies, that is a huge
like
recommendation.
Yeah, I'll have to check out that.
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage is a weird cat. Nicolas Cage already has his mausoleum bought in New Orleans. Because I was just down there a few months ago, and one of the things is he has a pyramid in a graveyard that he already bought. It's the future resting place of Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage actually bought it, so he's gonna be buried.
I love it even more now. You just said that.
Then you're really gonna love this, Dave, because he also has on his own hunted for the Holy Grail. I mean, there is documentation, and once we have the page ready, I will link everybody articles about this, but it's there's documentation. He went on his own hunts for the Holy Grail. A lot of research. He went to that church that everybody goes to in like southern England where they are supposed to have the Grail. But yeah, he as a person, as Nicolas Cage, just being a dude, went on a hunt for the Holy Grail.
I like when like actors and musicians and shit just like have this weird second life. Like Tom DeLonge from Blink-182 is a huge UFO believer. And he is paying like millions of dollars to fund this institute that is legitimately going out to investigate UFO sightings and shit. And what they have done is like the government has instructed the Navy to start like reporting when they have UFOs reported and going back and unclassifying all these other reports of unidentified flying objects in the sky. Like they scrubbed all that shit from history, and now the Navy's reporting like all astronauts, fighter pilots, cargo planes, they've all seen these UFOs, and now it's unclassified. And Tom DeLonge from Blink-182 has helped spearhead all that shit.
Interesting.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and Bernie Sanders even said that if he becomes president, he will release any kind of UFO-related material.
Yeah, Bernie Sanders is going to say anything to anyone to be elected president. There was a time where I thought that
That is not what this show is
No,
about.
I know, but I could just see, like, I'll release everything. I'll let the top 1% no longer keep their secrets. Yeah.
You want free guacamole from Chipotle? You get free guacamole from Chipotle.
Everybody gets a little something. Yeah.
He's like old white Oprah.
Yeah. Yeah, he is. He is. He's a character. That's the great thing about like.
You get health insurance, and you get health insurance.
Yeah. He's a character. You love characters. Like there are certain characters you can't write. Speaking of characters, weird tangent. By the way,
There's always
constant weird tangent. Yeah, constant weird tangent.
Yeah, I don't think we stayed on.
I think we started talking about Disney and Kevin Smith, and
No, we
So where are we
specifically haven't touched Disney. We're almost getting there. But characters, the Bernie Sanders, the standout character. Here's a weird thing that happened to me. You know how you sit down and you'd watch Scott Pilgrim no matter what, and when it's on. The other night, I needed background noise, so I was like, I'm just gonna put on The Office as the background
absolutely.
noise.
Yeah.
And so, but the next thing happened is like, I was like, all right, I want to watch something else. I've seen The Office a bunch of times, so I'll just watch something else. But then I sat down and I was like, well, I'm going to finish this episode because it's like halfway over. And literally, it was like 3 hours later, and I was still watching The Office. And the writing on there is great, but by God, Steve Carell as Michael Scott is probably one of the best characters that TV has ever had.
That's 100%, dude. I would say top 5.
Yeah.
I've been watching TV for 40 years now, and legitimately top 5 best characters I've ever seen on
Yes.
TV.
Yeah.
And then when he left, there is such a decline in quality in that show. It's like we'll watch all the way up, and that in the way that and the way that he sent him off with Holly and shit, like it's 2 different shows from when what's his face fucking took over.
I watched
dude from was it the Hangover?
Is that because it was based on the British thing, and maybe that because British shows don't stay on like multiple seasons like that? So maybe they did their own.
Literally, the first season was basically a shot-for-shot remake for the British show. But that first season, and here's the American problem, is that you're right. British shows are quick; they make it happen, and there's
a story arc, and they get it done in 3 or 4 seasons, which is manageable, and then they move on to a whole new story.
This was and I think that was a 2. I think the original Office in Britain had 2 episodes or 2 seasons, so it was condensed into 1 season. And then after that, they had to continue out the characters, and they did a great job. Season 3, by the way, probably the best season of The Office. It's super funny. It's when they merge the 2 branches, Scranton and the one that Jim went away to. It's just these are people who know the top epitome of their characters, including Steve Carell, who I just think is funny as shit.
And what's even more incredible is like so much of it was improvised.
Yeah,
like Steve Carell, that's all improvisation.
Yeah, he's very impressive. Like he's very talented, and it seems almost natural for him. Like,
and he's one of those older actors that did not come out until he was older. I mean,
one of his early movies was 40-Year-Old Virgin. So.
Yeah, I think he was like 43 when he made that or something. He was not a young man, but okay. That's enough of those tangents. I don't know whose weed is kicking the ass. It's either the Eagle Scout or the West Coast Sour Diesel.
So it's like a 50-50,
right.
It's a proposition here.
Right. The point is weed is good. So if you're a dispensary or if you make marijuana products or even CBD products, which kind of suck when you don't buy them at a dispensary, but if you make them and you need advertising desperately, we'll even advertise for CBD products. But marijuana dispensaries and marijuana fucking shit. Marijuana dispensaries and people who make marijuana stuff. Marijuana products.
That's very specific.
Yeah. So reach out to us. So that's the plug in the middle of the show. Okay, so we have to go to Disney then. And before we hit what's happening at D23, which is a lot, what I want to talk about is Spider-Man and Sony, man.
Man, my heart is breaking. Breaking. Can you hear my heart breaking?
I can hear your heart breaking. Yeah, Sony's tough. Sony, this was an interesting play by Sony. And I think it was just out of play.
Well, I don't know, man. Disney comes up and, flops their big dick on and say, we're Disney and we make billion-dollar movies. And, you have done okay with Spider-Man, but we've really taken Spider-Man to the next level. So, we want more of that fucking sweet Spider-Man cash. But it was fucking ballsy for Sony to be like, fuck no. We like our deal. So, good for Sony for keeping to their guns. They don't owe Disney a goddamn thing.
I don't know. I respect Sony's decision. I get it. I think it's a dumb move because Disney's huge and they own the rest of Marvel is a problem. So I get them wanting more money because they're going to give up other characters into that movie if Sony works with them.
Yeah, I think the best argument, I mean, it comes down to this. Realistically, Sony needs the MCU or Spider-Man needs the MCU far more than MCU truly needs Spider-Man. Because what are they going to do? They can just literally take whatever they're going to do with Spider-Man and drop Wolverine in that position. And then everybody's like, oh, fuck yeah, Wolverine's the shit. They'll make it really, I mean, think about it. There's a billion of Fantastic Four will take over whatever Spider-Man story is going to do. Spider-Man needed the rest of the MCU.
And it's sad for that kid who plays him because
Tom Holland.
Yeah, I liked him a lot.
He still has another contract for at least another movie with Sony, but I haven't seen the second movie. But what I do know is that a lot of things are set up that makes you think there's going to be a third movie that are going to be Avengers or at least MCU heavy, which they can't do now. Now I have heard discussions that they're finding a middle ground, and it'll probably be really quick.
This is my take on it is so Sony knows that they're gonna end up having to renegotiate this deal anyway.
Right.
So it's typical negotiation. Start with your highest fucking offer, pretend you're going to walk away from your table, and then get back in and make a deal, because you're going to have to end up paying Marvel, and Marvel knows that they're going to end up having to renegotiate. So this is just Sony's coming back like, you're asking for way too much shit, but let's negotiate it smaller, because I know we're going to lose it anyway. And I think this is kind of a big kerfuffle for nothing. I think, it's kind of dramatic, but I guarantee in like 2 weeks, new deal's been reached by Sony and Marvel, and Marvel's only going to do 33% or something like that.
Yeah.
So
I'm
not too concerned, but concerned a little bit.
They were getting like 5% of first day sales is all they were getting.
Yeah, I think that they get 5% of the total gross, and then they get all the merchandising rights.
Yeah.
That's a big amount of money as it is, but they want to split the cost of financing 50% and take in 50% of everything.
Yeah.
So
it's because Disney's a beast, and I know people who hate that shit. I love that shit. Because here's the thing: if you do things to quality, then by all means be the ones who do them. You know what I mean? That's really like, if you make, some people very much love the Beatles, or you guys are definitely more music than I am.
Are you comparing the Beatles to Disney?
I'm saying if you're a band that makes quality music, why don't you just keep making music, and why don't you own a good portion of the music for that time? Disney makes a good quality product.
Yeah, but I think the people that have an issue with it are more concerned about it appears greedy to them.
Yeah. It is greedy.
Yeah.
But it's also...
Disney's greedy, but they're a corporation. Their whole existence is to be greedy. So that's why they're putting out all, the remakes.
Right. It's
not because they're trying to break any kind of artistic, renaissance, or try to add really anything to our culture. They're just... We have this cool new technology we didn't have 20 years ago. Right. We want to introduce to a new generation in a style that they're more familiar with. And so let's make a bunch of money. We don't have to do hardly any work.
Right.
But they're really good. They don't put out shitty products. The Lion King was great. Aladdin was great.
Yeah.
They're not breaking any, kind of cultural ground. It's a fun movie.
But then they do. I mean, on other aspects, but other areas where they own. I mean, Pixar breaks cultural ground repeatedly. Don't you think?
Yeah, but they fight for the name Pixar because they don't want to be really lumped in with Disney.
Right.
They want Pixar. No, this is a Pixar movie. This is not it's a Disney movie. Like Frozen. Yeah.
Well, they do the same thing with Lucas with Star Wars. They don't make it. Disney does not take a huge image of it. They do the same thing with Marvel. They take a backseat, but these are
it's still Lucasfilm though, and they're selling it under Lucasfilm. Absolutely. But the movies that are under the name Disney, like the Frozens of the world, and I'm losing Aladdin's, Lion Kings, and shit. Their animation studio, I think, is definitely breaking ground.
Right.
It's just the movies that Disney is so well known for, that they've made their name for, it's kind of lost its cultural significance from a point of they're not breaking ground. They're not making a statement that maybe challenging the status quo. It's just Lion King again.
Yeah, but and here's the thing: I love Disney movies, but if you run the '90s and early 2000s live action Disney movies, their animation was always their strong part. Their movies were all right, but outside of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, think of another really Disney, a huge blockbuster live action Disney movie in the 90s and early 2000s. They weren't making, it wasn't like they were always making great things. At least in this one, they're making an interesting enough product that sells to people, and they're making a shit ton of money doing it. And that allows them to keep doing other things. And since they want to sell their product, what they do? They hire the stoners and the nerds, and they're like, Kevin Feige, come run Marvel because you love these stories, Joss Whedon, will you please direct movies and write for, Marvel?
That's a great point. I can't remember any other time where an industry was looking out for fans of that industry. They're actually hiring comic book lovers, people who love Disney movies. They're hiring and bringing them in versus, some fucking schlub at, Charles Schwab that kind of knows how to run a company. He's only looking for money. Right. Whereas you're bringing in fans, and they're going to put more heart into their projects.
Right.
And they're going to be a higher quality project.
And they get a better financial return. on the product. So interesting. Yeah. So there's fair arguments on Disney's part. I don't think we've lost Peter Parker from the MCU.
No, I doubt it.
They're too intertwined. They're symbiote. People have to deal with that. So we're gonna. I guess the next thing we're gonna go to is D23.
Yeah, it's a big day for D23.
It is Disney.
Disney stole the day for sure.
Yeah.
And they're gonna own the whole media cycle for probably a good 3 weeks, and then they're gonna put something else out. They're gonna keep it going. Star Wars are coming up on Star Wars, so they're gonna drop D23 stuff, and then they're gonna drop Star Wars, and then they're gonna drop another fucking show. Their marketing is brilliant.
Yeah. No, it really is, and they hit it from a lot of different points because they get you in the park. The smartest thing they're doing right now, and I actually think it's a better idea than buying a video game company. I always wondered why they have bought Disney has bought video game companies, but they usually just shut them down. They're usually really small. They don't do anything with them. They shut them down for the most part. But I think the smartest thing that Disney has done lately is Disney Plus, and I haven't even seen it.
No,
I haven't even seen it. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's gonna blow up the internet when it comes on.
Yeah.
And for what is it, $11.99 or $14.99 for like that Hulu and some of these other things? That's reasonable. It is. But then if you just do Disney Plus because you have the other shit, it's like $6.99.
Right.
Fuck, you have all that shit for $6.99. That's one of the best things you can buy. You buy so many hours of entertainment for your whole family.
Right.
And that when you're talking about cost benefit analysis, there it is right there.
That's why you buy Fox. That's why you buy Fox. I mean that was the honest reason. Disney's like, you know what, we need a shit ton more content, and then you get Simpsons. You know what I mean? Then you get Bob's Burgers. Then you get
great show. That's a good pull, man.
Yeah.
I love Bob's Burgers. I watch it every day. I have for a long time, like to fall asleep to, because
I'm right
not
there
gonna miss
every
them,
night.
so I can just listen to it and it just.
Oddly enough, I don't think I've ever watched a full episode just like front to back, because every time I put it on, it's when I'm going to sleep. So
I've seen so many episodes, and not because I want to.
I'm
the same with like Family Guy.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I used to do that with that show. I mean, I go through
I'm surprised
phases,
it's still
but
on.
right now it's a Bob's Burgers phase for me.
Yeah, just came out of a South Park phase. So, I like to think I grew up with pretty liberal parents.
Right.
And so at like 9 years old, I'm watching Lost Boys and I'm watching Nightmare on Elm Street. My parents kind of let me do watch whatever I want. And so I'm not quite taking that same approach to my 11-year-old, but I'm like, it's not that bad. So I'm introducing them to all sorts of movies. Like,
yeah, we did that. We were me and my wife were pretty flexible on what the kids watched.
yeah.
For the most part. I remember one time the kids, it was like a Halloween season was coming up, and so I thought they were old enough. I was like, do you want to watch, I think it was Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I don't remember how old they were, but they seemed like old enough for some reason to me. And it was the remake, not the old one. And like the first scene, like eyes were welling. I was like, never mind. Let's just watch Hocus Pocus.
Yeah, I cannot get my kids. I love horror movies.
Right.
It's like one of my favorite things in the whole wide world. And I cannot get my kid to watch anything remotely scary. If there's scary trailers at the movie theater, he has to duck away. And, I love him for that. I love him just like, I don't like that shit. Like, that doesn't make me happy. But it's like, it's one of those things, like, I go see horror movies with my dad. That's one of the things that I love doing with him is going to do that. So I'm like, come on, Dante, don't you want to watch a scary movie?
Interesting. Yeah, see, you know what? The horror movies, the thing that has scared me more than anything else, or at least one of the things that stood out, is I was like 16 years old. This is not going to... I can think of 2 horror movie stories that just freaked me out. Number one, and neither of them are... Anyhow, they're not that interesting, but you're going to have to hear about them because I thought about it. Number one, my dad had fallen asleep, and I lived in the basement where everybody else lived upstairs, which was cool. You're 16, you live in the basement, people leave you alone. But I came out to like wake him up and be like, Dad, like go to bed. I had woke up in the middle of the night, like 1-something in the morning, and then on the TV, I'm just standing there watching. It goes to commercials, and then it just shows like this girl in a bikini standing next to a lake, and like it looked like a beer commercial. I don't know how else to describe it. It looked like a beer commercial. It looked like beer was floating through the water, going to the middle, and then all of a sudden what looked like a beer flies through the air, and you think she's gonna catch it or some cool dude's gonna catch it, but no, it's Texas Chainsaw Massacre like 6, which by that time I got really stupid, but I wasn't expecting it. It was one of those weird scares that I was like, oh my God, Dad, get up, go to bed. That was it stuck out. I was like, because it lured me in with the comfort that I was like, oh, it's a beer commercial. Something goofy's going to happen. Spencer McKenzie's going to jump out and ride a skateboard. And that was absolutely not it. Second time, watching a movie. And I'm watching Twister. I'm laying in my room, and I'm watching Twister. And
great horror movie.
Oh, no. Yeah, a wonderful horror movie. And so... As it's going, I had not seen the movie, so I'm watching it on VHS. It's the middle of the night. Once again, they go through this whole thing. A bunch of shit happens, and then the next cut, the scene cut, is to the fucking girls from The Shining, just standing there in front of the elevator. And like, if you've seen the movie Twister, it is not they do not use a short segment of that. They probably use a good maybe 45 seconds. They leave that scene on. You don't know they're at their drive-in for a fair amount of time. You know, most places do a quick cut. They let that one sit for a while. So imagine watching what you thought a movie about a tornado was all of a sudden, and then it just cuts to The Shining at one of the scariest parts of The Shining. I just jumped up in the middle of the night, and I turned that fucking tape off. I was like, no, I don't know what's happening, but I can no longer watch any of that movie. I did later find out that they were at a drive-in watching the movie The Shining, but that hung way too long. That was a scary experience for me.
Do you like scary movies, Nancy?
I like scary movies. I love them, and then I scare myself when I watch them by myself, but I still do it. I don't know why. And like, I remember watching The Exorcist. I saw that when I was like 11 or 12, and it didn't scare me even. I would watch it like by myself at night. And then when I saw my mom years later, she wanted to rent that director's cut, and it had like 11 extra seconds, I think. It was something really small. I was like, oh, it's not going to matter. And then she did that staircase thing.
Oh, yeah.
And it scared the shit out of me. And I remember that night my mom left, and I'm sleeping in my room, and my bedroom door was open, and I just kept imagining that girl running like that upside down from down my hallway. And I don't know, I didn't sleep at all that night. It scared the shit out of me.
I will say, Exorcist, absolutely my top number one horror movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie. That's the type of scare I like. It doesn't have to be. I mean, I like the first Saw. Don't get me wrong, but it got to be too much. I don't hate them. It's just they're very similar and not scary as much as, you know. So I like The Haunting of
Hill House.
Yes.
On Netflix.
Yeah, and they're doing the second season right now, and it's a completely different time, different place.
Yeah.
But is that doesn't guarantee that will be good. They did a good first season. They used the story and they did it well. I'll be.
They're doing the same thing though. They're using an old classic horror, like I think it's a 3 or 4 book series, and they're basing it on that. And it'll be loosely based on it, like this one was loosely based on its original source material. But I have faith in them because they did it really good. I'm always disappointed at the end of scary movies, and I don't know why. Every time. Nothing ends good for me.
Yeah, I hear you. So the second season of Hill House is going to be The Haunting of Bly Manor. So I don't have time to read the article, so that's as much as you're going to get.
Interesting.
Google this shit
You can
yourself.
look it up.
Yeah. No, but I think I am so picky about horror movies, and I try to watch a lot of them. And if they stick out to me, like Hereditary, I don't know if you guys have seen that. But if you haven't seen it and you kind of like scary movies, watch that one and it will freak you the fuck out. It is a really good horror movie. That I'm so hard to be pleased and surprised by horror movies, and that's one of them. But I keep trying. I don't care. I love shitty good horror movies, good horror movies, really good horror movies. I just love horror movies.
Yeah.
Do you think that Universal can successfully bring back one of their strongest assets, which are their monsters? They own the outset of like the classic movie monsters, Frankenstein, Dracula, the Wolfman. Can those be adapted and can they play it in a Marvel type game? Can they
I
make
would
an
say
entire universe?
They used
Van
to.
Helsing and
Universal made their name on horror movies,
Yeah.
and they can do it again. My idea is that they should probably go and hire somebody that works for Kevin Feige at Disney who knows and has had success and can build a big franchise. Like they don't need a huge universe. They just need like 5 different people. They don't have the massive size of the Marvel. Bring in that guy. I think the horror movies would tie in really well. And then don't fucking cast Tom Cruise in your stupid horror movie.
Yes.
Somebody better, please. He's good at Mission Impossible, not great at horror movies.
I'm not a Tom Cruise fan.
Yeah, there's movies. Here's the weird thing about Tom Cruise is like there's sometimes where like you see a movie, you're like, cool, that makes sense, Tom Cruise. But then there's other times where he's just Tom Cruise. He's like half. Part of my Nicolas Cage problem, going back to that, is that he's always Nicolas Cage in every movie, and I can't see past him being Nicolas Cage. Tom Cruise has that in like half the movies. In half his movies, he's great. He understands the character. He develops the character. You're no longer looking at Tom Cruise. But the other half of the movies, you're like, oh, it's Tom Cruise. Why is Tom Cruise there? I can't get past that. It's him being there.
So everybody probably just has that one actor that most people really love, and then you're always like, I don't get why everybody loves that one person. Mine is Tom Cruise. Yours is Nicolas Cage. What's yours?
Bruce Willis.
Really?
I get that.
Can't stand.
I see it.
And that all stems from he's made some real shitty, stupid movies, and then him and Kevin Smith got in this like epic like battle when they're making Cop Out, and the story that Kevin Smith of how big of a douchebag Bruce Willis is. Other than it was just unbelievable the story that he was telling about how shitty this guy was. Like he just didn't feel like working, and so they had to fucking do the whole shot with him just like sitting there not doing his dialogue. So Tracy Morgan had to like jump in and do all the dialogue, and like instead of bantering back and forth, now it's a fucking 5-minute monologue. And Bruce Willis just wouldn't say the lines, wouldn't do anything. Wow. And that story just got to me, and I was like, that really fucking sucks. But I will never watch this guy's shit.
Did you like him prior to that?
I did. That's the problem. I love that fucking guy. Like
he was good in
Die Hard.
Disney's the Kid. Well, yeah, but
well,
Disney's
no, the kid. Yeah, he's great. He's done really funny shit. Like I really liked him, but as soon as I heard that story, it's like I won't watch any of his shit.
I don't want him watching.
And he just plays.
Movies
He plays fucking
are.
Bruce Willis in every movie. You're saying Tom Cruise kind of, but Bruce Willis plays Bruce Willis in every movie.
That's fair.
It's the same exact character.
I was saying that the other day to you. I think.
Yeah, I think
about Bruce Willis specifically, like 2 days ago.
What are the odds? I haven't talked about Bruce Willis in probably 5 years, and that's funny they ever talk about this thing. It's magic.
Hudson Hawk is an amazing movie. Hudson Hawk is an amazing Bruce Willis movie. Have you seen Hudson Hawk?
I have not.
Oh, it's great. He's a cat burglar. Everyone should watch Hudson Hawk. I'm sure it's not streaming anywhere.
That didn't intrigue anybody.
It is.
Bruce Willis as a cat burglar.
You gotta watch it.
No, that's all I'm gonna give away because it's really
just IMDb that shit. Decide if you like it or not.
It's watch the whole movie. It's really weird, especially if you go into the premise thinking that he's just a cat burglar. Get high, say, hey, I was listening to the Mile High Potcast, and James said to watch this Bruce Willis movie, Hudson Hawk. He's a cat burglar. And then smoke some weed, and then watch the movie, and at the end, you'll be like, why the fuck did he only tell me that he was a cat burglar? Because there's so much more to this movie. But
he's a cat burglar with heart.
Nope. He's just a bad... I can't... You watch it. Get stoned and watch it. Don't learn anything about it. Just go rent it from your local... download it. It's somewhere.
There's one Blockbuster up in Oregon. I think they might have Hudson Hawk available in VHS and DVD.
I have Hudson Hawk on VHS. I guarantee you I have it. Yeah, I have it somewhere in my garage right now.
So what else came out in D23?
Yeah. So, yeah. Man, we zoned out on that. Okay. Yeah, so D23, a lot of things. So we're going to get She-Hulk, which is going to be pretty amazing. We're going to get Moon Knight. They've showed pictures. They showed the picture of the Lady and the Tramp live action thing. It looks weird because I don't know.
Is that the dog that they found from the shelter?
Yes, it is.
Aww, yeah. I love that story, of course.
The dog is really fucking cute. And I think the biggest news out of D23, besides the Moon Knight show, which everybody has been rumoring that is going to be given a movie in the universe, they fucking dropped the Mandalorian trailer, and that show looks unbelievable. Jon Favreau is leading that, and Jon Favreau is just an amazing filmmaker, and he takes the fucking Star Wars universe and makes a long, drawn-out show. That thing looks amazing. I cannot wait to
like Game of Thrones. That's what I had read about it. I haven't seen the trailer.
I didn't get to see it either.
And it just came out not more than a couple hours ago, so... but it looked... I made my kid and I watch it, and we were fucking blown away. It looks amazing.
Obi-Wan Kenobi is going to get a series. That'll be...
with Ewan McGregor. He was great. You shit on the prequels all you want. Ewan McGregor was fucking amazing in that series.
Yeah, no, I actually... I do think Ewan McGregor was one of the better things about the original. There were so many hopeful things about that original series. Like, even if I watch it now, I'm like, damn it, man. There's parts of those movies where I just go, damn it. And it actually, I will say it ruined the original three for me. The first three ruined the original three Star Wars, because then I had to watch those first three, and then I'll go back and watch the original three, and now I know more of the story, and that part of the story makes me so mad in so many different ways. I'm like, I hate everybody in this movie. I don't care, C-3PO. And so it really did. It really tainted. That's probably why I think Rogue One is my favorite Star Wars movie, because the rest of them are just... I don't know.
Well, I think that's why they, did all the Clone War shows and all the other animated shows that they do. They're like, okay, so here's how we're going to connect the prequels with the original three, because we, fucked up a lot of the mythology with these prequels. And so, like, this is how this happened. And, they're trying really hard to make everything fit together. Which, going back to the Marvel thing, it's like, they just went out the gate and just like, let's make it a universe, and let's get really good people to do it. Star Wars is having struggles, and I think these last movies have been amazing. I think they're definitely back on track, but they're having trouble trying to interconnect all their stories, like their universes and shit.
I truly think everybody talks about Marvel being brilliant about it. I said I think a lot of them lucked out on a lot of things, and that's why the entire universe is made up of 90-second in-credit scenes that continue a story or set up a new story that they didn't really know if they could do. They could have very well had Nick Fury come in and talk about the Avengers to Tony Stark in the first Iron Man movie and done nothing else. Nothing was ever set in stone. It just makes them look smart because they have an idea of where their story is going to go, and they're like, let's do this. And then the movie sells enough, and they stay close enough to what they set up. They do have very few misses in that department as far as what they predicted they were going to do, but I don't necessarily think they knew from the very beginning where it was all going to end. Well, I know they say that they would do, but I think they're bullshitting. After I wrote something, I'd be like, yeah, I sat down at the very beginning and I knew exactly how my story was going to get, where we wanted this whole story to go. I mean...
But if, Jon Favreau, who's doing The Mandalorian, if he hadn't just fucking knocked Iron Man out of the park, him and Robert Downey Jr., you wouldn't get Endgame, you wouldn't have gotten Infinity Wars. It would have just been maybe one or two movies here, but Jon Favreau and Robert Downey Jr. just fucking knocked out of the park and set the stage for 23 movies and beyond. They have shit planned out for the next decade, and they haven't even touched X-Men or Fantastic Four.
That's true. All right,
sorry, I just want to say, I want to amend my statement about the big news being the Mandalorian trailer. I think the biggest news that come out of D23, new Phineas and Ferb movie. Phineas and Ferb. I think the universe, according to Candace, or Candace rules the universe or some shit like that.
Yeah, additionally, Phineas and Ferb, a movie called Candace Against the Universe, and on Disney Plus you get all prior episodes of Phineas and Ferb, so you can watch all that. And
you want to talk about show to watch when you're high? That and SpongeBob, Phineas and Ferb and SpongeBob are two best fucking movies or shows to watch when you're high. Cartoons right now.
I mean,
I don't have to watch cartoons anymore, but I see the commercials for them. They look. I mean, I watch some. I admit.
Because you're not a 40-year-old boy child. I am definitely a 40-year-old boy child. And I will go back to watching, I will fucking watch Smurf, because like that's the only thing that I want to, Smurfs are on.
Do they have new Smurfs? Is there a new Smurfs?
Okay. I'm going back to old school Saturday morning.
I just wanted to, I didn't know.
I watched that, yeah. But, I don't know.
Saturday morning cartoons are weird. And they're kind of sexist. And there's a lot of bad imagery. Especially if you start going back. Depending on how far you go back. There's some weird shit that you look at as an adult. That wasn't even like jokes necessarily for adults. But they're like time capsules of society at that time.
Yeah, like some racism.
Yeah, there's some subtle racism.
No, it's not subtle.
Yeah.
Looking like Tom and Jerry.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. Old cartoons are great, but sometimes when you get to the end of it, you're like, man, I don't think they should have said half of what they just said in that episode.
Yeah, that's why I find going back and watching these cartoons are so fun, even the SpongeBobs of the world.
Yeah.
Because they are, like you said, they're little snapshots of where the world was at that point.
Right.
I liked Fairly Odd Parents.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah.
Dante loved a lot of cartoons, and so
Sorry.
as a parent, you're a parent of 2 kids, and you know that you have some of the shows that your kids like, and you have some of the shows that your kids watch that you can't fucking stand.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you want to watch SpongeBob, right? You want to watch Phineas and Ferb, right? Because it's either that or fucking like Wonder Pets or some shit. So, and I don't want.
When the kids were little, maybe I'm not thinking of the same thing.
Wonder Pets.
We're on our way. Okay, yeah, it is. But it used to just be a short little excerpt in between cartoons when my boys were little on whatever channel it was.
They had full-on 30-minute episodes and Caillou and shit. Like,
we did not watch Caillou.
God. I didn't realize that Caillou was so awful until Christmas, and my parents invited us over for Christmas Eve, and we were going to watch a movie, and they started playing the Caillou Christmas, and I wanted to fucking shoot myself in the face after about 20 minutes, and it felt like a 3-hour long movie. I'm sure it was only like an hour and a half, but it really felt like 3 hours. It was the worst fucking Christmas movie ever.
Caillou was awful.
It was awful.
He's a spoiled
I just put up with
kid.
him because he has cancer. So
is that really established, or is that just?
No, that's
He just can't grow hair. No, Caillou's
like,
horrible.
Has Charlie Brown disease. I don't know.
He's a brat. He gets away with everything that he ever asked for. His parents never. Yeah, Caillou's a brat. We are coming to an hour, which is pretty cool. So we're going to do a speed round at the end of the show, and then I'll let everybody say something. You probably know a lot about what happened at D23. You do not.
I did not get to. Yeah, I didn't even know I was doing this until.
What we're going to do is I'm going to let you guys know something that they made an announcement of in D23. And I just want your initial reaction. A quick sentence, popping it out. I will say your name and you start, and then the other person can answer, and then maybe I'll say something funny. Who knows? Let's try out. So
that's so complicated.
It's very easy. You'll get it as it's going on. So the first one's going to go to Nancy. They announced that they will be launching the Lizzie McGuire show, and Hilary Duff is coming back to play the main character in her 30s. What do you think about that?
As long as they do it right, it could be cute. Hilary Duff was great. She's adorable.
I've never actually seen Lizzie McGuire, but I do know Hilary Duff. I find her adorable. Dave, Lizzie McGuire.
I cannot give any opinion because I don't even know what Lizzie McGuire is. I know who Hilary Duff is, and that's about it. But I don't have any idea what Lizzie McGuire is.
That was Hilary Duff's original Disney character.
I'm getting that because people are pretty happy that she's on there. I'm like, she must have been in the original one.
Right, and imagine, that's weird. That's a weird one. Okay, ready, Dave? We'll start with you. High School Musical, the series. So Disney Glee. What do you think?
My nephew and my niece are really into musicals and shit, and they really love it. So it's great for them. I could give a shit less about High School Musical whatsoever.
Nancy,
I am not a fan of the original, so meh.
Listen, I like Zac Efron. Zac Efron's great, but I love The Descendants. So maybe I'm judgmental because I haven't given time to watch it.
I don't dislike The Descendants.
Yeah,
you know that.
My niece and nephew were actually just in the High School Musical production at the Arvada Center.
Oh, cool.
Interesting. The High School Musical, that was a movie that got transferred into a High School Musical. The meta universe we live in is weird. Okay, Nancy, Forky Ask a Question is one of several new Pixar series coming from Disney+. The show is a series of shorts in which Forky, the new character from Toy Story 4, asks questions about the world around him.
What kind of questions did they
I
give
have
examples?
no idea. They give us no examples.
I think that could be really... I love Forky. So, I mean, yeah. I mean, as long as he's not still asking about trash and, like, let's move
That's the kind of show I want, is him to ask the most ridiculous, mundane questions for 30 minutes on an episode. And he's like, why is that? Why? Maybe you should do it to scientists and stuff. What do you think, Dave?
I'm more excited for Marvel coming out with a show called What If. It's basically the same thing as this Pixar show, but it's taking a Marvel approach from, like, what if Captain America... was that Hydra, or what if Tony Stark's never came up with Iron Man stuff?
And that was a popular comic book series too.
Yeah.
So it's something, and it's neat because Disney owns all those actors, so they're going to do their actual voices. There, it's not like you're changing out actors like they do in DC all the time. All right, Monsters at Work, a show based on Monsters Inc. Dave, what do you think?
Love it. Anything Pixar does, I'm all for. And they have, as long as they have fucking the original cast, it's gonna be great.
Are they gonna have... Sorry.
No, yeah, they are gonna have.
Yeah. They are gonna have.
John
wait,
Goodman?
no. Ben Feldman leads the voices. Lead the character Tyler Tuskman. So they'll probably be part of it. They'll come in.
So Sully and Mike won't be in it necessarily?
No, this is a scare who arrives on his first day of work to discover the company has swiped the screen power to laugh power. So you trained your whole life to do one thing, and then you get in there and like, hey, so you're a stenographer or whatever. You're a stenographer. We have a computer.
You're a stenographer.
I am a stenographer. Yeah, that was the guy.
That's well established.
That was the guy who had a job that the computer just came in and took. You trained the whole time to do it. And they're like, oh no, a computer does that now. He's like, fuck, man, I went to school to be a scarer. Marvel's Avengers Endgame will be... That's a stupid thing. Nobody cares. It comes out on December 11th. I don't want anybody to respond to that because that's useful. What if you actually already took this one? So we'll start with you, Dave. What would happen if Peggy Carter had been given the super serum instead of Steve Rogers?
I think that'd be really cool. I think Peggy Carter plays such an integral part of the Captain America lore that... they really share a lot of the same values, so I think she would have been an amazing Captain America.
Interesting. What do you think about a what if show where you can get all those main actors to do an animated thing?
I don't know. Sometimes I struggle when they get too creative. I kind of like class. I'm not sure. I struggle to change my concept of certain people. I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense now. Which one's real?
So I'm gonna sound like that douchebag as I put air quotes in the air. In the comic books, Captain America, there was a great series where Captain America became Hydra, and it's called Secret Empire, and it was I'm just really getting into comic books with my kid, and it blew me away. But seeing Captain America, who is Captain America, as like big Hydra, is really very interesting. Yes, is the exact reaction which I assumed because... that is that guy conversation. Oh, he's that guy. I read comic books. I'm not really like that.
I get it, and I respect. I have to be honest. I've never been really big into comic books, not even as a kid. So in that way, I don't have that attachment. But I respect it, and I understand. I get it. I'm sure that I'm not seeing the whole picture, but I don't always. I just struggle. I get used to it. I get used to it though.
What about the world according to Jeff Goldblum? Isn't that sounds like a stoner show?
I wrote a part for Jeff Goldblum. He's like one of my favorite people in the entire world.
Yeah, I think he's. Yeah,
he's hilarious.
He's fucking.
Yeah.
He's a genuinely nice guy. He has a food truck.
And
he goes. He was just in Denver and he had his food truck in Civic Center.
Yeah.
Weird. That would have been interesting.
Yeah, he plays jazz. He's just fucking cool as shit.
Yeah,
he's great in Ragnarok.
Yeah, and so the idea of watching him roll around to different countries, the description literally says it will follow Jeff Goldblum as he explores mundane objects and reveals scientific and historical information about things from tattoos and ice creams to RVs and denim. So it's like...
And this will be on
Disney
Channel
Plus.
or just Disney Plus?
Disney Plus. So...
Look at that. That's fun.
That'd be good.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun.
Yeah,
all you're basically doing is just like make me salivate because I'm already going to buy their shit. So you're just like, here's more shit that you're going to get.
Right. Here, yeah, well, of course. And then they're just building out their theme park. I don't know. It is a beast. we didn't intend to talk entirely about Disney. And the first half hour...
I don't think we did.
Yeah,
I think we did for like a good maybe 10 solid minutes.
Yeah, so, but the first half hour, if you want to hear us talk about everything else or random stuff, the first half hour is all over the place. All right, so this is the second show. Nancy, we're glad that you came in and set in for Chris.
Glad to be here.
Maybe we'll see Nancy again. And if, like we said, James at
milehighpodcast.net.
I don't remember
How do you not remember
it's
Mile
the name. I'm going to say it at the end of the show. That's the weird thing. I know milehighpodcast.net. It's James at milehighpodcast.net.
I'm so proud of you. You did it.
I remembered it this time. Dave, anything you want to say before we close out the second show?
No, man. I was a little bummed out because we missed episode 1. And there's some really funny shit that we talked about, but this is a great way. We kept the momentum going, and this is a fuck ton of fun. Yeah. Thank you so much, Nancy. Come back again anytime because you were great. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Well, I hope to be back.
And everyone like and subscribe. Listen to us. Where are we going to be?
We're going to start uploading this into SoundCloud to just when we're getting started. If you guys have any products you want to sell or if you want to come in and join us, please email at milehighpodcast.net. It is stuff we messed up at milehighpodcast.net.
As you can tell.
I about fucked up that email address too. Stuff I messed up, our email address.
Yeah, I thought we had both of them. One was what was the troublesome one? Was the
fucked up one.
Yeah.
I got rid of that.
Interesting. So we only are targeting 13-year-olds still. Yeah. So yeah, email us. Yeah, get on the show. As you can clearly tell, I'm the one who had the microphone, and Dave did all the other work on this. So that's how that played out.
Speaking of more shit, we're gonna have our Facebook. As soon as I launch the episode onto SoundCloud, I'll go ahead and publish the Facebook page. Haven't done Instagram or Twitter, but I'm only one person. So those will come eventually.
Yeah, if you really like social media and you work for free or weed and you want to manage our social media, contact us at stuffwemessedup at milehighpodcast.net.
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
So proud of us all.
Yeah, see, so
Hooray.
we made it. So that was a good second show. Yeah, we look forward to seeing you next week. We're going to do this for about 3 more weeks, and then I have to step away for 1 week. But so we'll do that, and then Chris will come back, and who knows? We'll see what else happens. Dave, always a pleasure, man.
All right, have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's not erase this one.
Thank you for listening to the Mile High Potcast. Please contact us at stuffwemessup at milehighpodcast.net. And as always, good night and pleasant dreams.